Hello, Ad Age audience. I'm Garrett Sloan, technology reporter at Ad Age, and I'm pleased to be here today to introduce a guest of mine coming from Twitter. It's Matt Derella, the Global VP of Revenue and Content Partnerships. So hope I got that all right, Matt. Welcome to the show.
Perfect, Garrett.
Yeah.
Great to be here.
I was practicing it all morning and I still slipped up on it, but hey.
Hey, man, we're good. It's great to be here with you and the Ad Age audience.
Well, again, thanks for doing it. We're going to talk about a lot of interesting topics going on at Twitter. So let's get into it. We are live today, so hopefully we'll get some questions from the audience and people can tell us where they're from, give us some feedback, let us know what's going on out there. You're used to that at Twitter, I'm sure.
All about real time.
We're real time. Let's do it. Let's talk about Twitter during coronavirus. I mean, you're working from home. Everyone's working from home. So you're coming from New Jersey today, huh? What is the working from home environment and routine?
Well, it changes day by day. I've got like a lot of folks working from home. I've got two kids under 10. This morning's routine involved recess led by yours truly. To get the kids moving around a bit and doing some exercise before my wife, who's been incredible, took over the schooling activities for the day. And like for everybody, it's just such a personal thing and how to work through all this. We were way out in front of it. I look back to early February, we were seeing things happening in Singapore and China and, making plans around business continuity planning. But when we actually had a global pandemic, it's worked its way around the world, like how we all react to this has been very personal. That's the one thing that we've been really clear on with our employees is that you really need to separate how things were and just embrace this sort of new normal as it's been called. And part of that is really making time for yourselves, making sure that you're getting time to recharge, whatever that looks like for you. Because fundamentally, if we can't take care of ourselves and keep our energy levels up in this sort of reality of being so disconnected, we're never gonna be able to serve our teammates, serve our customers. So we've been really consistent, and that's been our guiding principle from the beginning, is just keep safe and keep well. We've even used services. We have a director of mental health at Twitter who's been an incredible addition to our team to help us work through the differences of working in this way.
Was that a new position to get someone in that sort of role?
We had hired her before any of this came. Something that we really wanted to focus on, just as context for maybe the viewers. The Twitter back in early 2019, we made a commitment to really decentralize. We see that as a long-term advantage for lots of reasons. Number one, we think that giving people the creativity to choose where they're going to be most, productive and creative is really important. We think we can get access to new talent that maybe we wouldn't otherwise if we had just sort of centralized hub in places like San Francisco or New York. And then also it reflects our audiences. We have hundreds of millions of people using Twitter, and they're all over the world. And it's important that the people that are building the product, that are serving the product, are reflective of those communities. So we think that is a really long-term advantage. We had the plans in place, but now with COVID, we've really accelerated our there.
You had said you're gonna make that so people can work from home. It's just like the way of the future there. What happens to Silicon Valley perks if people are working from home? Do you have some sort of what do you get? Free HBO Max or something?
I think you probably get a lot less commute time for a lot of the folks in that area. I think that's one of the biggest perks I've heard. Garrett, we don't have all the answers, but I can tell you, like, when we look at the data from our teams and how they're feeling, I think that most people still want the opportunity to connect at an office. The large majority of our teams still do, but there definitely has been an experience of doing this together that people realize they can work from home and that it can have some real benefits, particularly around, commutes and being able to, really work differently and more efficiently. And so that's something that we see in the data, that people will be working from home, 1 to maybe 3 days a week in the future. And like I said, we always had this view that would be the future, is that people are going to have more options within Twitter. We want to make that an advantage for us. So we're really leaning into it and making plans so that we can accommodate people where the roles allow for them to make those choices and do it on their terms.
Absolutely. And you had one of the things on everyone's mind today, obviously, is the Donald Trump tweets from yesterday, and how you've made decisions now regarding sort of making labeling more pronounced when you see things that are sort of misinformation. And these are like very political decisions coming up that you're having to contend with. I was wondering, even working remotely, how does a executive team get together and discuss these major actions you have to take, doing it remotely even?
Yeah, well, so I'll just break that up into the two parts. Like maybe the first part is just like, how do we operate as a management team? We're already distributed with some in San Francisco, some in New York. I am based in New York, so we've always been comfortable with operating more remotely. Last year we made a commitment and visited all the different offices of Twitter, over 25 around the world. So we were, as an executive team, constantly on the move. You can imagine in my role, I travel typically a good part of the year. So we've already gotten very comfortable with that. One of the things that we do differently than I think some other management teams is we really focus a lot on written documentation, putting the think to ink, make sure that people have shared understanding, and using asynchronous communication through documents like Google Docs to help us understand and work through problems. And then we have regular management meetings that we do virtually for a few hours twice a week. Mm-hmm. And then that's how we work through these. On the specific decisions we make on a specific tweet that may be either in violation of a policy, or in the case of the president's tweet that you mentioned, that we felt was potentially misleading people about voter registration and the voting process. What we're trying to do, and you're going to see more of this from Twitter, is move away from a world where it's binary, where you take it down or you leave it up, and actually just provide context for the end customer. In this case, there's a tweet that goes out. I think it could be interpreted as the actual mail-in votes were sent to every single person in California, which wasn't actually the case, as has been widely reported. So what we did was, as you can see in the graphic here, we put a prominent subtext there that says, "Get the facts about mail-in ballots." And if you click on that, you'll actually go into a moment that's been curated with authoritative, journalist sources that just give the facts to the end customer. Right. And I think it's our way of basically, evolving how we're dealing with information on the platform. Misinformation, when you work at our scale, is something you never can solve. But we're trying to make really tangible steps to give the end customer the context about what's actually happening. And part of that is this labeling, which we think gives us a lot more flexibility for the future.
Are you, how about you personally? Is this something that I would imagine these kinds of decisions that anyone in the executive ranks has to get involved in. Do you have strong opinions on this particular, like where Twitter should be on the line? Because it's not just your company, it's all Silicon Valley. You get the, like Kara Swisher coming out with a column saying, take him totally off the platform, get the president even off it, or take even more drastic steps. Have you been anyone who's, is it just be more analytical about this? What is the thought process from you?
Well, I think as a company, one of the things we do is we're really clear about the policy team is the ones who are making the decision on this. They're the experts in this. They're working at scale all around the world to understand a lot of the nuance that goes into this. And there's, I think it's important that we have that clarity on who's ultimately making decisions here, and how we operationalize that at the scale we're at. Mm-hmm. As for me personally, I'm very much for us moving away from this binary, it's up or it's down, and giving more flexibility and continue to really build into the product itself, more flexibility to serve our end customers. That's something that you're starting to see with the example you showed there. We're also working on all different ways that we can give end customers more controls. We just last week announced an experiment called conversation controls, and that's within the actual product.
We're going to get into the don't at me, as I've already I know the product, so I do want to get into that because that's another interesting one. So I'm going to get into it, but I'm going to give a little shout out first to our live audience.
Great.
Right. We have a Jelson from Spain, so people are tuning in here. Richard from Florida, Benjamin from Colorado, welcome. Godfred from Ghana, Salram from India, and I'm Garrett Sloan with AdAge, here with Matt Derella, the Global VP of Revenue and Content Partnerships. I'm going to get that right on the last try, and we're going to do it one more time after this. But so yeah, don't at me, Matt. What is this? What is this feature, and what's a reply guy?
Yeah, well, let me first of all welcome everybody, and thank you, Star 95011, for the kind note there on Periscope. It's great to have such a global audience here. The conversation controls is an experiment that we launched to a subset of the users on Twitter, and it's been an ongoing request that our customers want to have more control. And as usual, like our customers usually have the best ideas. The conversation controls gives you the option, if you're in the experiment, to choose who actually gets to join your conversation. One of the things that Twitter has a superpower around is serving that public conversation. A great example is COVID. You had the whole world basically focused on solving one single problem, and Twitter was a place where the most authoritative voices in the medical community came together and were sharing in real time what they knew and understood. So you, as a person living in this world, could know the facts as soon as possible. But sometimes, it can get a little chaotic. And while hashtags are a good way to hopefully navigate what's trending, when it comes to actually watching a conversation unfold with lots of voices, the cacophony of it sometimes can be overwhelming. So what we want to do is give people choices. And this is an experiment. We will iterate it over time, but it gives you, as a customer, I can go on and I can start a conversation with Garrett directly. I can choose to have it just be between he and I, so it's very clean for people to see. I could invite my followers to join into the conversation, so a group of people that I'm more familiar with, or I could just open up to everyone, as tweets work today, and I'll just have that control.
Right.
Now, that also doesn't stop anybody who couldn't have a conversation to actually quote tweet it and get it out across Twitter. But it does, as the person who's actually authoring the tweets and joining that conversation, give me a lot more control. And I think it will be good for end customers. I think it has the potential to be very interesting for brands as well.
Oh, yeah, Matt, don't at me is a feature that is that, to explain it, it limits who can reply. So you can go forward and just say, I'm going to say this, and nobody get back at me on Twitter. And you had mentioned certain people, they don't like the people who reply just sort of obnoxiously. So there's ways to sort of tone down the conversation on Twitter.
Yeah, you have more control, which I think is just something that, we're going to experiment with here. It seems like, based on the feedback we've heard from customers, like a natural place for us to go. And, so far the feedback's been really powerful. What I'm excited about, part of our job is to serve that public conversation. And if we can make it easier for people to connect with that conversation to get the information they need, then I'm all for it. And I think this has the potential to be a real game changer. At a more fundamental level, what I love is that Twitter, even in this COVID situation where we're all working remotely, our teams are shipping products. We're getting out, we're listening to our customers, and getting these experiments out and into the world to get more feedback and improve them.
Something that brands could use. They're going to turn off replies in some cases. Where is that being recommended now? What type of, is it just, I guess I could think of any number of reasons why you would not want to have replies on certain things, but is there some way you're talking to brands about it?
We're a select number of brands are involved in the beta. We'll learn with them when they think they could use this. You could imagine if you're a B2B brand and you're hosting a virtual conference right now, which many of them are, and they're broadcasting it live on Twitter. It's been a big trend that we've seen. You might want to have a more smaller group, almost like, if you will, the panel discussion happening between different people on Twitter, which you can do in real time, no matter where you are. And that's something that's really very unique to Twitter. That could be really, really powerful. But again, we're just starting out with this, and I think we'll learn a lot along the way. But the feedback so far from brands is like, this is going to make Twitter easier to understand. It gives me, an opportunity to really have clear conversations with our customers, and that's all very positive.
And this is what we're talking about, like that type of feature is one of the ways to control the conversation and have a little more certainty around not being, not any toxicity or harassment. There's all these protocols, and that does fundamentally tie into how you talk to advertisers, especially during coronavirus.
Yeah.
There's a lot of topics that are hot button issues. We talked about politics. So what are advertisers telling you right now in terms of their comfortability just being out there? There must be a lot of fear to get in the mix because, who wants it?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think that there's a lot that goes into where brands are right now. And, I don't think conversation growth is sort of the number one thing. It's more around like, where is the company and where they feel comfortable actually jumping in and sharing where they're at. You have companies that are the spectrum, that some that have been so devastated in certain categories around this situation. And you have others that are pivoting and starting to move forward, starting to share what they're doing and their part in the recovery from COVID. And then you have others that are, frankly, benefiting from people being home. You obviously move to things like streaming and how, they're seeing increased interest and consideration and acquisition around some of those services. So we're working with all of them around the world. And what we're trying to do is really tailor our messages with each of them based on where they're at. And, I believe now is not a time to sell, it's a time to serve and understand where our customers are at. One of the benefits that we have, we sit on top of hundreds of millions of tweets every single day that basically serve as the world's biggest focus group in real time. And we're able to surface insights, at a company level or a vertical level that I think really can help a CMO or a CEO make decisions about where they want to navigate the company forward. An example of this is, we see the amount of discussion around togetherness has really exploded since COVID became a global pandemic in early March. And that has been really powerful insight for brands to use to actually take advantage of that. And you've seen brands like Verizon, which I think we have a tweet of, really lean in to this moment and not only take advantage of the togetherness factor with Pay It Forward Live, where they're actually doing live concerts and inviting stars like Dave Matthews and Alicia Keys, among many others, every single week, and streaming it and having the conversation live on Twitter. They're also connecting it to what they're doing for small businesses, and they're giving millions of dollars, up to $2.5 million to help support small business as part of this. You're seeing Usher, that was just from a week ago. It's been an incredible program. The positive sentiment on Twitter around this has been some of the highest we've ever seen. And it's a great example, I think, of a company really leaning into the moment, knowing who they are, where they can support and help bring people together. And it confirms to us like the importance of that kind of messaging and approaches in this time.
I'm going to jump in again with a question from, and we already covered a little bit of at home and how it's working at home, but it looks like Serum on LinkedIn asks about, is productivity maintaining its levels even though you're working from home? Is it more or less productive? And if we can get briefly, because we're going to run out of time and I have so much more to talk to you.
Sure. Yeah. So Serum, I think, we're seeing really high productivity levels. On my mind is making sure that we can sustain it, that we can keep the culture, alive and well. And it's a big part, I think, of why Twitter has been so resilient and ultimately successful. So right now we're seeing great productivity. We're seeing our ability to navigate to this new world in a pretty seamless way, which is really encouraging. But I don't think we understand the sort of longer term impacts of not seeing your colleagues and working together. So that's something that's on our mind that we're watching very carefully. We're sending out surveys, every few months just to understand what's happening at a global level, at the employee level, so we can, make adjustments where appropriate to make sure that people can continue their productivity and make sure that they're taking care of themselves.
And again, we were able to take that question because we are live right now. Again, I am Garrett Sloan with Ad Age. I'm here with Matt Derella, the VP of Global Revenue and Content Partnerships. I'm going to get it last.
I don't think that is I think the issue is with my title, not with you, Garrett.
I'm
it's that
so
hard.
sorry. I'm like, I should have it written down better. Yeah. But we'll go ahead. So you're a live platform, Twitter. I'm going to Twitter for the Super Bowl, for the Academy Awards, for the Olympics, and we don't have any of that right now. So now we're talking more occasions. What is an occasion to be on Twitter? What's popping up and how do brands get if there's no live?
Like I said, we're a focus group, so we've never had to really guess about what kind of content to bring on the platform. What we've had to do is just listen to what is already being talked about. Certainly Academy Awards, Super Bowl, the Grammys, these are big, moments globally in the US for people to join the conversation and really feel connected. And some of those are not here right now, or most cases are being postponed to a later time. So what we've seen is that there's still massive conversation going on. I think a great example of an occasion would be something like graduations. We've seen JP Morgan Chase do incredible work around graduations. We've seen the Show Me Your Walk, which was a great effort that actually showed, the gives the graduates their time on a global stage with Twitter and others that brands have been able to wrap themselves in and to show how they're supporting the graduates. And I think that's something that will continue throughout this period of, being more disconnected. But one of the things that we're really excited about, frankly, is the things that are always happening on Twitter are still there. We always were the second screen to television, the place where people came to have conversations. Going back, for those who remember the first days of Scandal, when ABC was threatening to cancel it, and Kerry Washington and her cast got together and really went to Twitter to build up a community of fans that became very much, the warriors for that show and brought it back and actually, made an incredible run in primetime. We're seeing that same behavior, but we're seeing it accelerated. So whether it's the NFL draft, whether it's The Last Dance, that documentary series from ESPN, or, more recently with The Match 2, which just aired on TNT, we're being integrated into the programs. Tweets are oftentimes being brought into the broadcasts. We're seeing a massive conversation around the actual shows, and brands want to associate with that. And as I look forward to sports coming back, for example, in the US, in a world where it's pretty clear we won't have as many or any fans in the stands, Twitter's always been the roar of the crowd. And I think more and more, Twitter is ultimately going to be the stadium, the place where you go to feel connected to the programs, whether that's a news show or a sports event.
Matt, what can I ask you about that? You're talking about sports leagues coming back. What do you how are you talking to, say, the NBA about what Twitter can take part in and stuff like getting sports back?
Yeah, well, we've got amazing partnerships with each of the leagues that are really holistic. It's everything from how we can help support their players, how we can help support the fan experience, the teams themselves, and ultimately also to develop new business lines. We have really big partnerships with the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball, NHL, and PGA and others. So we're always in conversation with them. We really want to help them in this time. I think this is a moment of partnership for us. Yeah. And I think we can play a major role in really driving that togetherness and that connectedness that people are so in need of right now, and all in service of ultimately the fan in those experiences. So those conversations are ongoing. Nothing to report now, but I think you can look to us to continue to lean in and help both the leagues, the broadcasters, and also brands take advantage of what we think is going to be a different but still amazing comeback of sports that's going to be psychologically really important to the overall recovery of the country.
Yeah, you think Twitter, obviously Twitter's always the place fans go to root their teams on in certain instances, but now probably a little more than usual.
We all have those, many of us have very deep personal connections to those teams that we've supported our whole entire lives. And there's a big absence right now. And I think that Twitter will be a place where people can really connect with other fans and have fun and really feel together. why they are enjoying those programs coming back.
And talking about those sort of content partnerships, I probably have two quick questions for you. So New Fronts, you're not participating this year, but these are the types of places where you do show off partnerships with places like NBA and NFL. What's that sort of like behind the scenes now that you're doing it less in the front of the less publicly, since you're not part of New Front? What's going on?
Yeah, that was a decision we made in the midst of COVID, and it just for us didn't feel like the right time with the original dates that were aligned. We're big fans of the IAB and the New Fronts. We've been one of the earliest partners of the social platforms to participate. And listen, we're always looking to share some of the amazing things that are happening on Twitter with all of our partners across news, sports, entertainment. So we're in conversations with them. Nothing to report now, but I think what you'll see from us for sure is continued, scaled engagement where we're sharing this information, both through virtual, remote type meetings like we're all having so often right now, but also through more public ways, such as broadcasts and whatnot. So lots to share as we work through the details with our different partners, and excited to bring that when it's ready.
There's the very last question. So you have advertisers who are being direct response, being more interested in that. And this is a big topic for you, having to be able to service advertisers who are looking to drive downloads like HBO Max today or be delivery services. They want those results right in the ad campaigns. You've overhauled your ad technology, bought new companies. What's that process been like so far?
Yeah, it's been great to see us make decisions for the long term, Garrett. The underlying thesis for us is really simple. We believe advertisers are increasingly going to be demanding and like consistently excellent return on investment for every resource they invest, and that's not very controversial. So we've made some really big investments and even prioritized our revenue products to the top of the company's priorities. Which will allow us to really be able to implement, innovate faster, and deliver better ROI for our customers. You mentioned HBO Max. When someone's launching something new, Twitter is a place that they come. Whether that's a movie release, whether that's a new tech product or an app in the case of a streaming service. What we want to do is be able to help them from the absolute top of the funnel all the way through to the bottom of the funnel and really show that proven return on ad investment and even the lifetime value of the customer. The investments we're making will allow us to do that at a scale that's really, I think, very exciting for our customers all around the world. One of the ways that we're doing that is by building and prioritizing and putting more resources against it on the engineering side, but also making some acquisitions. Last week, we acquired a company called CrossInstall. And this is a company that brings incredible talent and technology into Twitter that's very, very focused on the map app install business, which we look as a very large, growing global marketplace that we have every right to win even more in. And it's really the first step in a longer performance roadmap that will allow us to fully serve our customers from the top of the funnel all the way down to acquisition and loyalty. So it is a big investment, major focus for the company. And I think what it means for our marketers is they're going to continue to see improved return on investment for the time and money that they invest with Twitter.
Well, definitely thank you for your time, Matt. It was really, really appreciated. I'm glad we could talk about what's going on at Twitter and around the world and everything in between. So do appreciate your time today, and hope we'll be able to do it again and really see how things are shaping up in the months ahead.
Thanks, Garrett. I really appreciate the time. I hope you and your fam are well. And thanks to all the people joining from all around the world. It was great to talk with you.
Absolutely. Take care.
Bye now.
Bye.